Imagine finding a clock that doesn't just measure time, it controls it. A simple twist of its hands could erase mistakes, undo regrets, even bring back moments you thought were lost forever. But what if every second you reclaimed meant losing something else, something you might never get back? This is the story of a man who dared to turn the hands of time, and paid the price. It sat in the back corner of a dusty antique shop, unnoticed by most. A simple clock, aged, elegant, its hands frozen at a peculiar time, 11:57. No one knew its origins, and the shopkeeper never spoke of it. But one night, just before closing, the clock began to tick, backwards. At first, the sound was subtle, a faint clicking beneath the other noises of the shop. But as the minutes passed, the ticking grew louder, more insistent, as if calling to anyone who would listen. And then, something remarkable happened. A man named Daniel, the last customer of the day, stood before it, mesmerized. He reached out, tracing the delicate golden filigree of the clock's frame. As the hands moved in reverse, so did the world around him. The shop brightened, the dust retreated, objects moved back into their places, and suddenly, he was no longer in the present. He was in the past. The newspaper on the counter no longer read today's date, it was yesterday's edition. The door, once locked, now stood open as if inviting him to step back into a time he had already lived. But Daniel hesitated. He knew time was not meant to move this way. The clock did not transport him to another world. It rewound his life, minute by minute. At first, it seemed a miracle. Lost time restored, regrets erased. But there was a cost. Each time he let the clock tick backwards, he forgot something from his future, a memory, a moment, a face. The first time, it was something small, a forgotten grocery list. Then, it was a conversation he had earlier that morning. But as he continued, the losses grew deeper. The memory of his mother's voice. The name of his childhood best friend. The face of the woman he loved. Each tick back in time erased a part of him, until he was a man untethered from his own story. Daniel gasped, pulling his hand away from the clock. It had taken more than time, it had taken pieces of him. And yet, even as fear clawed at his chest, a temptation lingered. What if he turned it just once more? What if he could undo that one mistake, fix that one regret? It was then that the shopkeeper finally spoke, his voice a whisper barely audible over the ticking. Some things are not meant to be undone. The past must stay where it belongs, or you may lose more than you bargained for. Daniel stood before the clock, torn. The weight of his lost memories pressed down on him. He knew the truth now, this was no ordinary timepiece. It was a door to the past, but the price for entry was steep. Should he turn the hands again? Undo his past mistakes at the cost of his future? Or should he walk away, leaving time untouched? His fingers hovered over the golden hands of the clock. One more turn. Just one more. He closed his eyes, and the world around him seemed to hold its breath. If you had the power to rewrite your past but at the cost of your memories, would you dare? Would you risk losing yourself in exchange for a second chance? Thank you for journeying through time with Parallel Mythos. If mysteries, myths, and the unknown captivate you, subscribe and join us for the next tale. And remember, some clocks should never be wound. Until next time.